Hola, ¿cómo estás? This is your boy Addy. As you know, I'm a full-time realtor with Warren Brander Realty, and I have my partner Orlando with me today.
Hi, my name is Orlando Santamaria. I'm the head lawyer for a law firm. It's called Lex 360, Lex 360 in Spanish.
Thank you. And the reason we are making this video today is I often get this question that is it possible to purchase the property in Mexico for foreigners? So that's why I wanted to talk with the Orlando. He is the attorney here in Puerto Vallarta, and we'll ask him a few questions: what is required, what his role is in helping with closing for foreigners. Okay. So my first question to you, Orlando, is it really like it's? I think people think it's not easy to purchase house in Mexico for foreigners, for Canadians, for people from Canada. So is it like can they buy property here in Mexico?
Yeah, it's actually quite easy because compared to other countries. The only thing is if a client, which is a buyer, is a foreigner, and if they are buying property in what we call the restricted zone, it's 50 kilometers from the seashore inland, or 100 kilometers from any border, south or north border. If you're buying a property within those limits, then you are obligated by law to put this property in what we call a trust. It's basically, so you buy the property with a trust contract.
Perfect, thank you. And with this closing cost, like unlike in Canada, US, and other European countries, closing cost is approximately about 1 to 1.5%. What about in Mexico, specifically in Puerto Vallarta? What closing cost, how much percentage the buyers should be anticipating or set aside apart from their down payment, do you think?
I usually, when my clients ask me that question, I usually tell them just think of like between 3% or 2% sometimes, up to sometimes even 8%.
Okay.
Why? Why is the difference so like between 2% or 8%? Well, it depends in a lot of in a lot of factors, but the most important items in the closing costs. Well, one of the most expensive items in the closing cost is the transfer tax, and in Puerto Vallarta, the transfer tax is calculated using the legal value of the property. So, for example, if a property legal value is $50,000, commercially you won't find a property with $50,000, but the legal value is what the government uses to calculate property taxes. So if the legal value is $50,000, and then there is another property which legal value is $200,000, then that transfer tax will be way higher for the property which is $200,000 than it was $50,000. Okay, and then for the rest, they all pay the same, regardless if your property costs, like if you're gonna buy a property which in the market is for $100,000, you will pay the trust fee, the bank fees, and most of the fees are the same that if you buy a property which in the market is for $1 million. So when you made the math, of course, the cheaper property, the closing cost that you will pay will be the percentage will be higher than the $1 million. So maybe the $1 million will be 2.5%, while the $100,000 will be like 6%, 5%.
Okay. And what stage of the transaction does buyer or seller they come to see you, Orlando? So I know when I work with the buyers, right, we look for houses. If they like, we put an offer gets accepted, and now they transfer money to escrow, do their due diligence. So after they remove all the conditions, is that the time they come to see you, or you come in play earlier?
No, usually that's when you actually are in escrow, because that's when we start asking for all the paperwork, and we will usually, you as a real estate agent, it really depends on personality. Some real estate agents, they ask us to be present from the moment they submit the offer. So in case their clients have some legal questions, they can refer to us, which the real estate agents that we work on daily basis with, we tell them not a problem. We don't charge for that. That's part of our job.
Okay.
So they bring up their questions, we answer the legal questions, and then when their offer is accepted, that's when we start asking the paperwork. We send them all the list, and I'll usually tell them in advance that because we have very heavy anti-laundering money laws in Mexico, you will be asked for a lot of paperwork. So just to be prepared, some people, because in Canada and the US, you have a lot of theft identity.
Correct.
So they are very scared about sending like social security numbers or things like that. So when our clients do not want to do that, we just ask them to just have a quick phone call and they can just do it by phone, so they don't have to put that information on the internet.
Okay. No, thank you, Orlando. So this is what, as a buyer perspective, I hope it clarifies now that yes, you are able to buy a house in Mexico with fideicomiso, and you need an attorney to close the deal. And quick question for seller's point of view, we won't be doing too much big discussion, just a small, like every country like Canada, US, Europe, like they have a capital tax gains, right? Do we have something similar to that in Mexico as well?
Yes, we do. I think a lot of times people get confused because of the English word and the Spanish word. It's different. So in English, capital gain tax will be understood as something like if I buy a property for $100,000 and I buy a property for $200,000, then I pay. The capital gains is the gain that I make from that sale, okay? Which is at that point is right, okay? But then on top of that, in Mexico, we have foreigners have the right, just as Mexicans, to use their exemption when they sell the house.
Correct.
They have to meet certain requirements. They have to become residents of the country. They have to have a tax number. They have to have fiscal residence of Mexico, which is a process that we usually explain to our clients what to do it, and they can use their exemption, so they can reduce their capital gains. So a lot of people, when they think the word exemption, they think it's like, oh, I don't pay capital gains at all. Well, not always. We always have to see the case and what's the amount that they are using the exemption for, and that's when we can give them, Usually we ask them, when going back to your previous question, when do we enter in the terms of buyer is when they're in escrow. For a seller, we will be when you guys, if you as a real estate agent, you're doing a listing, you usually ask us for the numbers first, so your seller knows how much money is going into my pocket, right?
Thank you, Orlando. So if you are a seller and before you list your property and want to find out how much capital tax gain you might end up paying here, get in touch with me and I'll forward you to Orlando, and he will be happy to help you. Okay. And Orlando, my last question for you today is this whole process. Okay, what's the fulfillment time, or how much time it takes close from accepted offer till closing?
The typical time is between like 1.5 months and 2 months. Sometimes we can close a deal earlier if we have the paperwork and all that. I have closed deals in 20 days.
Wow.
But I have also closed deals in 7 months. Why is the difference? Because sometimes when the buyer buys a property and the property is already in a trust, some banks have very bureaucratic processes. So when we get the offer, we check if the property is already in a trust and they are doing an assignment of rights. We check the bank and we give you an advanced timeline. Our firm, we check the deed and we say, Addy, this deal will tell your clients this deal will take at least 5 months, for example. Or tell your clients we can close this in 1.5 months, not a problem.
Okay. No, and again, there are so many if and buts, right? That time can be, I'm guessing, is dependent. If the other person is not on a trust account, it could be, the closing could be sooner.
Yeah.
But when dealing with the trust, if the buyer and seller both are on a like they have a fideicomiso, then it can take longer to close.
That is correct.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
if the property that the seller has is already in a fideicomiso or a trust, and the bank that is holding that trust is one of those, I call them bureaucratic banks. It's we have the names. I don't know. I can give you the names. Those are the banks who are very hard to work with, just because they are so big and their bureaucracy is brutal. So they don't have an office sometimes in town. So we have to deal with central offices either in Mexico City or Guadalajara, and that's why it's kind of a longer process to close.
Well, thank you so much again, Orlando, for your taking time from your busy day for making
You're welcome.
podcast with me. I appreciate that.
It's always a pleasure, Addy.
Thank you guys, and if you have any question, I'll leave my number in the description, and I'll be happy to help you guys. Looking forward to talk to you guys soon. Till then, thank you. Adios. Bye bye.